first turn up on site for the meeting, normally you'll either think, oh, okay, this looks alright, or your heart will sink and you think, oh, wasting my time here. See what impressions you get of the property when you arrive. Is it in a neat and tidy order? Does it look like a well kept, well presented house? If so, you're thinking, okay, sound like decent people, might be a nice one. If you rock up and there's a sofa in the front border, then you're going to be thinking, I'm not going to be spending much time here. Okay, but assuming you got a good impression when you first come in, meet the clients, straight out into the garden. You're going to be thinking, mindful of access, but we'll come back to that in a moment. First of all is to get them out in the garden. If there's more than one person there, if it's a husband and wife or whatever, get them both, if you can, get them both out in the garden, so you can kind of get a feel for what each individual client is wanting and thinking. And walk around the property with them. And for me, when I'm first walking around, I don't take any notes, I don't write things down. It's very much walking around with them and listening and asking questions that get them talking. So again, you might ask again, how long have you been here? How do you feel about the garden in its present state? What did you guys do here, or what was here before? Just get them talking. Ask them what sort of standards they're hoping to achieve, what's important for them. All those sort of questions, just get them talk and listen. Zip this and get them talking, and you'll get a feel for what it's after. For me, what I do then is I say, are you okay if I have another walk around the property on my own? Do you mind if I take some photographs just for reference when I go home? If you're happy for me to do that, I'll come back to you in 10-15 minutes and give you a knock. That allows you time to get away from them, walk around the whole property yourself with your professional eye on, your business eye on, without having to worry about interacting with them. You can think and have clarity when you're walking around, and you give them a knock when you're done. So let's go and walk around the garden here and see the sort of things that you might be looking out for. So I'll run through some key things that you want to think about. I won't stay out for too long because it's bloody chucking it down. Key things to think about when you are walking around. First things first, paving. Paving here, all of the pointing's gone. Are they going to want you to use weed killer on that? Do you need to factor that into the price, or can you upsell them pointing? What are the condition of the borders like on the property? These are very narrow borders, should be very easy to maintain. Are they full of plants? Is there loads of bare patches? Can you see things like ground elder, bindweed? Because that's going to take more and more time. Here the borders are relatively up together, but you're going to be assessing sort of what's in them. Is it mostly herbaceous stuff? When are you going to need to cut that down? Or is it more shrubby stuff like we've got here? You're going to be thinking, what are the boundaries? Are they wanting to leave these shrubs to grow tall, in which case it's less work for you with pruning them, or they want to shape them every year? My garden here splits in two, but let's imagine along this boundary line, that is the boundary line of this property, and you've got a privet, say it's a privet hedge running along here, say 6 foot high from the shed to the corner over there. You're going to be thinking, how many times are you going to need to cut those boundary hedges? Whose responsibility is it? And what are you doing with waste? We'll talk more about that in a moment. The lawn, what condition's the lawn in? Do they want you to do the lawn, or do they want you to just do the borders? And waste. Waste is the other thing that you're going to be thinking about. This is a fantastic garden if you want to get into fixed pricing. Because it's small, the borders are small, they're fairly full, and they're in good nick, which means it can be predictable for you. And predictable gardens make for easier quoting of maintenance. Final thing, climbers here. You're going to be thinking, when do I need to prune these? How much is going to need to come off? What waste is going to be generated? If they've got a pergola, as I've got down here, what condition is it in? Are the posts all rotted out? Is that going to present you problems? Or can it be an opportunity for you to upsell? Okay, so you've walked around the property. For me, at this stage, I'm not thinking so much about what price am I going to give them, because I like to go away and think about that with a bit more detail, rather than giving it to them there and then. What you're going to be thinking about, and you need to decide before you knock back on the door, is, do I want this job? That's what you've got to think. Is this a garden that I want to work in? Are these people that I want to work for? You're going to be thinking about, okay, it's a small garden, okay? It's a seasonal garden. There's not many sort of shrubs. There's one small fictitious hedge. No big trees. There's going to be no sort of leaf clearing later on in the year. So this is going to be a typical March till November garden. So you have to decide if that's what you want, because this garden might not give you any winter work. And to have some like that are okay, but really it's not ideal. But you know, it might work for you. You need to decide, do you have other customers in the area? Because if you're going to be driving a long way for a small job, is it worth it? Is it going to be profitable for you? In your discussions with the clients, you will hopefully have ascertained, are they people that just want the garden maintained as it is? Let's imagine it's an older couple, they can't get out in the garden and do what they used to do. They want it maintained and kept looking nice, but they're not interested now in doing new projects and putting in new borders and that sort of thing. So, is there going to be scope for you to upsell them on projects? If there is, then great. If there's not, and it's just maintaining it, then you have to decide again. Do you take on the job, or do you wait for another one where you can do additional works for them? These are all the things that you have to consider, what I think you have to consider before you knock back on the door. When you do knock back on the door, you have to check some things with them. First thing you have to check with them is access. How do you get access to that back garden? Is it open? Can you come and go at any time? Are there locked gates? For me here, access would be through the garage, which for the contractor is a bit of a pain in the ass. And you need to establish with them how you're going to work that. Are they going to be leaving a key somewhere? Do they want you to have a key? Personally, I don't like having too many keys to people's properties because I feel a bit uneasy about it. But you have to think about these things. You have to have that conversation with them. If they say to you, oh, well, we'll make sure that we're in when you come. No, that cannot work. Absolutely cannot work. Reason being, if you were scheduled to see them on a Wednesday, and like today, it chucks it down, and you need to ring them and say, can't work in this weather, I'll come to you tomorrow instead. And they say, oh, well, we're not going to be here tomorrow, we got a chiropodist appointment and the niece is coming. That's no good for you, because then it throws your schedule completely in the air. So you need to know that you can get access to that garden when you need it. That's really important. Then you're going to be thinking about waste, and you're going to be asking them, how do you deal with your garden waste so far? Hopefully, with a small garden like this, they'll say, we've got a green waste bin or a composting area. You need to ascertain, is the waste from the garden going to reasonably fit in there? Or, for example, if you've got a large hedge to cut, are you going to need to work into your price a one-off waste clearance for those sort of bigger jobs? So you need to think about that. Boundaries. Boundaries are different with every homeowner. So here, privet hedge at the bottom of the garden. You need to ascertain, firstly, how often do you want that cut per year? Privet's quite a fast growing hedge. So can we schedule in 2 cuts per year, one midsummer, late summer? Or do they want just 1 cut a year when there's going to be a lot more waste to produce? So you've covered how often they want the hedge cut, and you have to think about the species of hedge to gauge and advise that for them. Next thing you have to consider, again, because every neighbourly relationship is different, you ask them, do you cut the side and the top of the hedge and your neighbour does their face side? Or does your neighbour cut the top? Do you meet halfway? If they say to you that they need you to cut their side, the top, and the neighbour's side, which does happen, then you need to get round to that neighbour and see what is on the other side of that hedge. If you're backing onto a field, for example, you know that maybe you can cut it and you're clearing up, maybe might not need to be so pristine, but you need to get access to that neighbour, find out actually how you get round into their property, see what's on the other side. If the neighbour has got maybe a pristine border next door, they're going to want it left in a pristine condition when you clear up. It's all these things you just got to think about. What are the obstacles that are going to get in your way? So when you're formulating your price, you've got a clearer image as you can possibly get to gauge your pricing on. That's what you're trying to do. And when you've ascertained that information, you're ready to think about the price.